Right. And well, and Legos is, I think, a very apt metaphor for, as you said, that the building blocks and connecting them in different ways, and connect them you have. So I'd love to explore what you've done with the Scouts. And as an Eagle Scout myself, the concept of earning badges, merit badges or digital badges, certainly resonates, and the Scouts globally is an organization that's been doing the recognition of skills for 110 plus years. So they've got a great history there. Um, so tell me about that. What with ScoutPass? What is that about? And how have the Scouts put it to the test?
Yeah, very exciting. And we enter, as you say, like I think we enter that project as learners,
Hmm.
those that have been like thinking about recognition and badging and credentialing and these sorts of things in a largely in an analog sense, for 100, quite literally 100 plus years. So feel super fortunate to have had the opportunity to partner up and explore what it would mean to take a lot of their deeper methodology and experience and pair it with a version of LearnCard.
Hmm.
ScoutPass was sort of born out of those two worlds coming together. And yeah, it's early, but we're excited about. I mean, we launched just actually a few months ago, sort of more formally at their. They have a few broad global convenings, so had a chance to put it into the hands of a number of scouts. Issued, I think, 50 or 60,000 badges within ScoutPass. So these are digital forms of recognition, all sorts of fun things like troop leaders, and we have a long, fun, playful list of means with which scouts can offer recognition, in a formal and informal setting. So, the hope and thought is moving that into another phase. We're actually actively working with a few partners to bring that into broader context into other countries. There are this wild. I've learned a lot about sort of the network that is the Scouts and their sort of broader overarching movement, and how global and universal it really is. It reaches nearly every country on earth. So so excited to see where it goes. But we're just moving out of sort of an initial proof case and phase to say, yeah, this is a good marriage, bringing open source digital infrastructure to the open recognition OGs, as it were,
Hmm.
that have been doing this stuff for a long time. Super cool partnership. We feel very fortunate.
Well said, and I'm sure there's feelings are mutual. So yeah, let's drill in a bit more, and you've already given the examples of Google Pay or the Apple Wallet. So most people will be familiar with those, but what sort of functionality are you bringing to the Scouts? What can they do with Scout Pass, and yeah, what I guess what brings them back, and some of your thoughts for where you'd like to take this? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, leaning back on the sort of Lego metaphor, I mean, I think the goal and hope is always to meet folks where they are. So really being sort of contextually responsive, making it feel like it's a native application that folks are used to. So colors and iconography, we've built in a lot of sort of Scout native visualizations.
Hmm.
Got a campfire as sort of the central button for the home, like a lot of fun things. So that's one, just from it's why I think we've embraced just open interoperable technology as opposed to singular built for one use case sort of tech. LearnCard really can become a number of things given the context. So one, it's a fun portal that is familiar to
Hmm.
Scouts. Deeper under the hood, from a more practical sort of functional standpoint, we rely heavily on verifiable credentials, which is sort of this really powerful open web standard. pioneered through W3C and the World Wide Web Consortium, powerful standards body for the internet itself. And we see that being really important. So as opposed to just a, digital image or a PDF or something that, can get passed along, what does it mean to actually have sort of data rich, in this case, badges or means of recognition in the Scouts context? Not only, yes, be fun and visually appealing, things that you can share and sort of be playful with, but also have deep trust and sort of cryptographic security baked in, having, some of the Scouts sort of bodies be part of the sort of trust that, these things are being issued from a trusted organization. They come with, real important meaning and value. And then being able to translate that through these badges or credentials. And again, individuals don't necessarily need to know that, but from a ethical perspective and just I think a perspective of just building social good and useful impact in the world. This isn't about, how do we make money off data that is being shared. That's sort of the traditional model. And again, not casting a ton of judgment. I think there are a lot of things broken with ad-driven models and all the things that come with that. But again, back to the idea of a learning economy where knowledge and skills ultimately are the currency. Trying to use some of these new standards and deeper protocols to, build that value into these new forms of credentials or badges or forms of recognition. So yeah, this is we love complexity. Baking all that into a very usable platform is the work at hand, but it's fun. And we've, I think at least shown that it's possible. We've got a long way to go to kind of move some of these things to scale, but we're on the path.
Well, and I would say 50, 60, 70,000 credentials in the first one. I was reading in the first week.
It was within a weekend. Yeah, it was a good test too. Yes. We learned where our limits are as far as scaled credential issuance in a short period of time. Yeah.
Well, that is a very, very public test. So, and great to hear about that success. And so much of what you're saying, Taylor, is music to my ears, and really so close to our focus and passion at Edalex around skills and recognizing that as the currency and enabling everyone to follow whatever pathway or pathways that they will seek to. I want to pull on a thread a little bit more. You one of the comments that I love that you just made was about meeting people where they are, and so for the youths in the Scouts organization or through your work with Lego Foundation, they're digital natives, right? So this is the space where they are, and so that again, I think bringing that analog concept of a merit badge that goes on your sash or goes in a closet somewhere, to taking it to these verifiable credentials that now the Scouts or the leaders or the troops can share. So you're really creating much more agency for them in terms of their recognition, their hopefully giving them a voice for those skills that they've earned, but then the ability to share and use those more than this badge that just gets sewn onto something and largely forgotten.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what we've learned is, I mean, it's both. There's absolute value in the ephemeral, in I am one of a small cohort that still actually does a lot of trading card. I've got all kinds of interesting, fun things, and I'm I wouldn't let go of that. I was never a Scout, but so it's definitely both, right? It's what does it mean to both through the digital means recognize what's so valuable about the physical, and vice versa, being able to move. We do have these new tools and technologies that are so powerful, and so bringing digital representations of that stuff obviously opens up new doors. So we've learned a lot about why it's absolutely both. I think we come from sort of a digital first mindset, which it's that's why it's a fun project. I mean, I think we're both learning a lot in each direction.
Brilliant.